All right, we'll go ahead and call this meeting of the Isani City Council to order. If we can all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Doing roll call, we are missing Councilman Merrill this evening. Do we have any public comment? Hearing none, I'll look for a motion to adopt the agenda. Any modifications?
Good evening, Mayor. No, there are not.
Okay.
Motion to adopt.
I have a motion from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Heeman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. And I'll look for a motion to approve the city council meeting minutes from our budget work session on September 5th and our council meeting on September 5th as well.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Collison. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. For announcements, we have our Park and Rec Board Special Work Session meeting on Thursday, September 21st at 6 p.m. We have our regular Park and Rec meeting on Tuesday, September 26th at 6 p.m. Our next City Council meeting is October 3rd at 7 p.m. And our EDA meeting is also October 3rd, immediately following the conclusion of the council meeting. Do we have any council committee reports?
I don't have a committee report, but letting you guys know, October 3rd will be my last meeting. I'm resigning and moving the family out of town, so.
Well, Dan, I had kind of overheard you talking, that's why, earlier, and I want you to know how much the city owes you a debt of gratitude for all the years that you've put in and the effort that you've made, and we've certainly been fortunate to have you on this council, and I've.
It's been an honor and a roller coaster sometimes, but yeah, it's been a great experience in my life, so.
Yeah, it's been great working with you, and I'm sure Steve would say the same, so.
Been here for a long time together. Still longer than you, though.
How many years, Dan?
11 years,
11?
long time, decade.
13 for me. I will not be at October 3rd's meeting.
Okay.
I will be out of town, so.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Dan, for your service.
Thank you for putting up with me.
Maybe more so than putting up with me.
Or me. Yeah, we appreciate your service, Dan, and where are you moving to?
North.
North? Just heading up, huh? Good for you. All right, any other council committee reports? Hearing none, we have no public hearings tonight. We'll move on to business item K1, request from Isanti Baptist Church regarding Union Cemetery.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So we did have a request come in, and we do have some representatives here from South Isani Baptist Church. They are the caretakers of Union Cemetery. They've done so for quite a number of decades, is my understanding. And they are making a request to the city to take over the maintenance and the ownership of that cemetery. I believe this might be, is this Roger Bostrom?
I'm Matt Veneman, trustee
Okay.
at South Isani Baptist Church, and then Roger Boostrom, who's our caretaker of the cemetery, is with us also.
You do have documents in front of you that they had shared with me. I myself met with the pastor and another member, Carrie, of the board. And so they had provided the information that you have in front of you to me to share with you this evening.
Okay.
I have a few questions.
Sure.
How many lots have been sold that are not being used?
How many lots? Sure, I'm going to have Roger come up and join us, if you could, Roger. lots have been sold that have not been used.
Right, that have been prepaid and are not being used.
That's hard to tell you, but most of them will be used.
Right,
But no, I can't give you a number offhand, but I would estimate it, I'd give a fair estimate, well over 100.
okay. Are those funds in escrow?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know a figure of what that may be? And would that escrow be transferred to the city?
So I can speak on behalf of that as well. So in the information that you have in front of you, there is a ledger, so to say, of what they have as a balance. Did this get passed out in front of you? You might not have been here when it was passed out.
Oh, is that the
Yes, it was
pass-out?
passed out this evening, right before the meeting. So that does
Okay.
have some of the funds that they have there. Some of them, if you see, doesn't mean necessarily that we can use the funds. We do have to invest them and then use that residual money for some of that maintenance and such. So there is some obligatory
I would say
factors with the
about
funds.
114,000.
All right,
in our-
thanks.
We call it the perpetual care fund.
I was just trying to get all the facts to be able to make a decision. I didn't realize they slipped this in front of me, so I have a lot of the information that I need right here.
And we also have about 20,000 in our maintenance fund,
Okay, how much?
20,000.
Okay.
I mean, Roger, you've been doing this for over 50 years?
Yes.
That's amazing. I mean, how much time does it take you to maintain and that type of thing? And,
Yes.
I mean, if we were to take it on, I mean, is it something that's, it depends, I suppose, on,
The lawn care would take, it all depends how accustomed you get to doing things. When you first start out, it's gonna take you a long time because you're not used to how we do things. But I would say 2 people can do it in 7 to 8 hours.
okay.
And that would be, I believe, Roger, the maintenance of it, right? So the mowing, the weed whipping, and then you contract out for the site.
That's all lawn care, which we just said, 7 to 8 hours, just lawn care.
I would really like to figure out how to keep this as a private entity. I have a hard time seeing the city go into the cemetery business, and you guys have managed since 1907. I mean, I know you've tried to find a way to keep doing it yourself. You have a little bit in the bank to be able to make this work. What is your main reason for wanting the city to possibly take this over?
It wasn't my idea. It was the
Okay.
trustees of the church.
So unfortunately, Roger, unfortunately in our church, we don't have, our congregation is low at the time when Roger started. And we don't have the members or the people that attend that have the time or interest to take on that responsibility. Roger's been blessed. He had a retirement, so that became his job as he retired. And we just don't have people in that population to take on that responsibility. And we feel, we know the city has no obligation for this, but it's surrounded by the city. It's been part of the community. We just love to see the city kind of help take care of the community this way.
How many acres are left to still be used?
Well,
Or how many plots could still be put in?
the entire cemetery is roughly 7 acres.
Okay,
And I'd say half of it right now could possibly be full, and we probably have graves marked out in lot numbers that aren't sold yet, anywhere from about 250. But then we still have about 3 acres that have not been marked out, lawn mowed.
Have you reached out to the Catholic Church, St. Elizabeth's?
We have not, no. We started with some churches with our own denomination.
Right.
But they're in a similar situation as us, volunteers, retired,
Right.
and they're finding a hard time what they're gonna do next too, so.
Have you looked into hiring someone to mow it?
We have
Hiring,
looked into people.
Contracted out? for
Contracted
mowing?
out, but then we also have the management side of locating, just like the cemetery side of it, of making who is the family gonna contact, who's gonna do the sale of the graves, contacting being in touch with the grave, dig the graves and things like
Who
that.
do they contact now?
Man, right now, I am working with someone on that, what you just talked about. But Dan, what was your question again?
Who does that now?
Who does
So
the
you
digging
do
of
the
the
maintenance
graves?
and the phone calls and,
I do everything on full casket burials. We have a grave digger that comes in and does them, but cremation graves, I do. I sell the grave lots. I close the graves. And I do all the other things that I can't even mention right now, because it'd
Sure.
take forever.
So you
Right.
can see we have a hard time finding someone to replace Roger, because he is a team, he's basically a team of people that does more than one person could do.
Have you put it out as a paid position to your,
We have, yeah.
and
There was no interest, unfortunately.
what about just the portion of taking the phone calls and selling the lots and that part of it? I can't imagine that'd be that many hours a week, doing that part of it. I don't know. I mean. The selling of the lots. You know,
That can come up when I'm eating supper. If somebody wants to come out there and look for a lot. How long will it take?
no, I'm saying how many hours a week do you think you spend doing that?
It's a job that you can't say it hourly on, because you never know.
Right, I understand that, but,
I'd say, oh shucks, I wouldn't know what to say.
yeah. I'm just saying, is it on average, an hour a
3
week?
or 4 hours a week.
So, okay, so you're
Something comes
selling,
up.
so you're selling a lot, stuff. Wow. Okay.
People are dying to get in, Dan.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't think there were that many people shopping.
We're all gonna go eventually.
So one thing that, Mayor and Council, one thing that staff can share is we did reach out, we were provided a couple other local area cities, so Princeton and East Bethel have municipal cemeteries, and Matt Sylvester, and he can speak more to this. He did reach out to them and just ask them about the time involved. Actually, Ms. Hillesheim knows some details about working in Princeton and what it entailed for them as well. And at the end of the day, what it comes down to, when you add up all the maintenance, whether it's mowing, weed whipping, plowing, we feel that we would have to have year-round, because this goes year-round, and then still hire out the grave digging part, because we don't have a backhoe here. It would be a part-time person year-round, up to 29 hours per week to take this endeavor on. It is possible
so it's
that we might be able to fund that, but it really is taking on a liability for that financial burden, so to say, I hate to say it that way, ongoing if we do take on this endeavor.
And it'd be, more work for Mike.
Mr. Becker, yeah. I remember we were approached about this
It's a long, long time ago.
a while back.
Yes, you guys were when maybe 10 years ago, and the mayor at that time gave me a flat answer, no.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely something we wish, we wish we could help out with it, you know, I mean, I don't think that's part of the issue. The main issue is that we already are are trying to cut staffing and, you know, there's been talk of even getting rid of seasonal employees and, I mean, just for us to take on more right now in the current environment that we're in, I think would be really tough.
That's why I was mentioned that if you had someone that, I mean, you probably have a secretary or a couple people who work in the office there, they could handle the phone calls just for the sale of the lots. Hire a contractor to mow it once a week. With that maintenance budget you have, you
Yeah.
know? Have you looked at doing it that way?
We did, we just feel like this is a good transition time for the church to see if there's other people interested in this service to the community. One thing too at the cemetery is like the perpetual fund, you can use that interest to help pay those expenses. The city would have the freedom to set the prices on the graves and the burials. So that could be part of your decision.
I'll tell you right now, it's not a money-making situation.
Right.
Some years, we don't even break even. We lose money.
It's always been a strong belief of mine that the only business that the city of Isani has and it was grandfathered in eons ago was the liquor store. And I've been a strong opponent for not having the city in any type of business. It's a free market in my opinion. But that's, if you ask me personally, I would say, at this time, I would say no.
I'm with you. I mean, I appreciate all that you're doing, and I can see where your struggle is, and it's really hard to find volunteers to do things nowadays. We have a new priest at our church. I'll talk to him. That's why I asked how much land you have. I mean, we could divide that cemetery in half and maybe make a deal to take the other half. I have no idea, but I'll mention it to him.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Sure.
What were you gonna say, Roger?
It's getting harder and harder to sell grave lots because cremation has come
Right.
in, and I would estimate over 50% of the people who are cremated are not buried. And if you raise your prices high to sell graves, it ain't gonna work. Because I got a motto, I sell low and sell some, rather than sell high and sell none.
I agree with you.
Because I talked to many years ago, I've been in this for 50 years. Hugo Strike told me many, many years ago, he had over 267 cremated urns in a closet that the families have not decided to bury. And I don't know what they do now with it, but when the cremation first started in, nobody was burying it.
Mike?
The cemetery isn't a profitable business. No way.
I know that's my concern. I wish I had an answer, because 50 years down the road, you know, there'll still be a lot of loved ones who'll want to go see their grandma or their grandpa, and there's a possibility there's going to be unmaintained graveyards, and then I don't even know what the city will do in that position. I mean, if you guys decided in.
It's actually township property, I believe, right? Or, so I think it could fall to the township. I mean, that would maybe be the next
It could fall to
logical
the
step,
township,
but-
and I believe there is a statute in Minnesota that if it was to be abandoned, I believe the county would have to address it if it was, so somewhere between the township or ultimately the county.
Well, there's an option, abandon the cemetery. I mean, I have no idea how you're gonna make this one work.
Any other questions or discussion on this, or?
Well, I don't have any good answers.
Yeah, I mean, I think every one of us up here wishes we could help you out, but I just think it's, for the people that we represent, it just doesn't make sense right now for us to take it on, so.
Thank you, City Council, thank you.
I appreciate you guys coming in, though, and good luck with figuring that out. All right, moving on to K2, resolution to consider approving a special event permit for the neighborhood market.
Neighborhood market.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We have a request for a special event permit, which was previously approved by the City Council with Resolution 2023-096 and organized by Tony Gall. He has notified the city that he will no longer be the event organizer, and the original special event application and insurance policy was under Tony's name. Now we have Elizabeth Anderson, who has been applying, or has been helping with the market, and has submitted a new special event application to take over the market as the organizer for the remainder of the season, which ends Friday, October 27th.
And you want what direction from us?
We need a motion to approve or deny the application. The resolution states the conditions are the same as the original application that was approved earlier this year.
I make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Hold on. I just wanted to mention one thing, because we as a council can change this. It's just getting a name change, and in the old agreement, and I brought it up at the last council when we approved this originally, I asked, why do we have only 15 vendors allowed for the market? The city addressed emergency in and out to U-shaped. Basically, what the city is saying is you have this area to put your event on. And I asked why they limited it to 15 at that time, and they said it was parking. Well, when I looked at parking there's 34 spots. Plus, that's not counting the spots for the vendors, because they park their vehicles inside the area allowed for the market. The market has been really successful and really is growing a lot this year, more so than any year that it's been around. I believe that we should not limit the amount of vendors, because we're limiting the amount of space they can have it in. So if we limit it, at least bring it up to that 2021 range, because it's really hard for Lizzie running it to be able to keep 15 there at any one time. Because what happens is you get 10 to agree one week that they're gonna be there, and so you fill in the 5, and then you get a few cancellations, and then some of the 5 who said they weren't gonna be there then shows up asking to be there, and it's really hard to keep a solid number. And to have that flexibility is a lot easier on the event organizer. And I haven't seen any issue with parking. I've been to at least 3 or 4 of them. And
Councilmember Heeman, if I could address this before you have discussion on it. We have not, the city shouldn't be limiting the number of vendors, actually. That was either a carryover of the last, what Tony Gull had put in there, or perhaps the bank had said. Actually, that can be removed from the resolution, because as long as there is the egress and for emergency vehicles, fire trucks, et cetera, if there is clearance for that and that is being maintained, then it's up to the bank to allow how much space that they want to provide to the market.
Perfect. I thought I
If
seen,
if they don't put in a stipulation in their approval to have the market, and I don't think the letter stated it, that's between the market organizer and then the private entity.
Perfect.
I know one thing we do want to make sure of in that is, and the reason why I think 15 was chosen, not by the city, but as a number chosen by the market, from my understanding prior, was that we wanted to make sure there was enough parking spaces for people to stop there, but we never limited the amount of vendors.
yeah, it's such a quick turnover in there. I
And
haven't seen them have a problem
we want
with
it to
parking.
grow. I
Right.
mean, the bigger, the
And I
larger
think-
amount
I
of
think at
vendors,
this
the
moment,
better.
we're just changing this agreement for who's operating it. We're not changing anything else. So it's just a matter about who's operating it.
Well, that's what I thought, but on the last agreement, it said 15 vendors, so I just wanted to try to get a little more
And
leeway.
this one does
but-
too. So if you could, if someone does motion, or you, as it was motion, with the removal of that, with removal of that number, staff will amend the resolution before it's signed.
I'll make a motion to remove that number.
And I do just want to address that mobile food units have been allowed in this resolution as opposed to the previous one.
Sorry, say that again?
Mobile food units, food trucks are allowed in this resolution. That was one thing that was added.
Yes,
That
I see.
wasn't in the previous one.
Okay, thanks.
And that's gonna change that dramatic too, but like I said, I just made a motion to approve whatever she wanted. She's asking for what she wants done.
Okay,
So-
they just needed to change, didn't take the number 15 out and keep it within the area. I'd make a motion for that.
I mean, she still has to, it's not our land, she still has to make sure it's okay.
With
Oh,
the
it
bank.
is okay.
With
The,
them.
the bank is,
And the businesses that are inside the bank that aren't,
yes, they are,
you know, the
they're
title
very
company, all that.
excited.
So
They really are.
that's kinda, yeah, it's between them now.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. So I have a motion from Councilman Heeman now for approval with removing the limit of 15 vendors. And a second from Councilman Lundin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Moving on to K3, the building officials services discussion.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So at the August 15th City Council meeting, it was approved to go with interim building services with Rum River Consultants. That was with the vacancy of our in-house building official. It was discussed at that meeting that we would bring forward a revised contract that would allow for permanent ongoing on an annual basis for building services with them. So before you in your packet, you do have an agreement. This is something that staff met with Andy as well as Carrie Levitsky to go through these terms, and I'm happy to say that they were very willing to work with us to keep our fees for most of them, and the fee schedule is on the agenda this evening in a couple items, keep them at where our permits have been. There are going to be some increases that people will notice, particularly when it comes to the project valuation. Our building official that was in-house was using an old schedule. They use current, but 1 year behind. So some builders will see a little bit of an increase because of that, but it's because ours was using a 2020 version, we believe, and now Rum River Consultants they use the 2022 version, so there's a slight difference there. But really happy to say that I feel that the service to our builders and our residents for pulling these permits is gonna remain intact. They're very willing to work with them, whether they need inspections done on weekends or after hours if they need to. They've been really great to work with for staff. And from a financial aspect, we do feel that this is best for the city long-term, as if we don't have any permits coming in, then we're not paying for that salary if we don't have a cost to offset that. And I can answer any questions that you have about this.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of really good things about Andy and Rum River Consultants there, and I mean, I think with the way that the housing market, I think, it's definitely slowing down in other communities. You've seen almost a standstill, and so I mean, I think financially, I think it makes good sense for us to make this decision at this time, and I wouldn't have any problem moving forward with this.
Make a motion to accept.
Second.
I have a motion to approve the building official services from Rum River Consultants from Councilman Lundin, and a second from Councilman Heeman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Moving on to K4, the resolution to consider approving the site plan review and variance request for a parking lot extension for Prairie Senior Cottages.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight we have a request from Prairie Senior Cottages to extend their parking lot as part of a site plan review and a variance request, as it extends into this 10-foot setback from the right-of-way at 706 6th Avenue Northeast. It will increase the parking area by 4 spaces, and it does meet the setback requirements for the north property line, as well as meets the easement setback from the storm pipe along the north side. The parking stalls meet the width requirement but are 18 feet long versus 19 feet, which is what is required in the United States as the standard length. The applicants are here if you have any questions to ask. The Planning Commission did recommend approval earlier this evening.
Motion to approve.
Second?
I have a motion to approve the variance request from Councilman Heeman and a second from Councilman Lundin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Moving on to K5, the 2024 preliminary budget and levy adoption. You want to take it over from here, Mike, or?
Yeah, I don't have a lot to add since we've had a budget work session already earlier this evening. Biggest thing I would add is keep in mind is that these three resolutions are sequenced in an appropriate order. You could handle them one at a time in the sequence that they're listed, or you could do all three at one time. But we should not go out of order on these. Otherwise, you might be committing yourself to a levy that you haven't backed up a budget with, so to speak.
Okay. So earlier, we had discussion on a few different scenarios that could be input into this, these budget resolutions. So I don't know if any of the minds have been changed at all, or if we've thought any more about it, but we have one scenario. Scenario number one would decrease the tax rate 8.97%. Scenario 2 would decrease it 4.54%, and scenario 3 would decrease it 0.36%. So, I mean, I'll just start off the discussion here, I guess, by saying that I really believe that scenario 1 is the way to go. I think it addresses some of the concerns that you guys have had and that we are continuing to move forward with the purchase of a grader. It addresses some concerns that Luke has had as far as the new salt shed being moved into this year. And it addresses concerns that I know George and I have had as far as reducing taxes. And if we hit that basically 9% reduction, we're going to see people actually not pay more than they paid this year. We had a 10% reduction in rate this year. We'll have a 9% reduction next year. And I think it, you know, even with the increase in property value, we're not going to see our residents have an increase in taxes. And it's one thing to say we reduced the tax rate and we lowered your taxes, well then why are we paying more? I don't think that cuts it anymore. People are sick of that, and they want to actually see real decreases in the dollar amounts that they're paying. So I would be in favor of scenario 1. And I don't know if there's any other discussion on that or any other thoughts, but
First resolution is just the meeting,
mhm.
setting the final meeting. So I said to do them in order, right?
Yeah, if you want to do it, the first one is just to set the final
The meeting.
final meeting, and we do have to do that again before September 30th. We have to report that to the county. That does get published, sent out to everybody. That is a firm meeting date where we intend to meet our statutory obligations for the Truth and Taxation meeting. So that would be regardless of any subsequent decisions.
Okay.
I'm not gonna be available the 28th or 29th if it goes to that.
Well, this is just to say the final budget and levy meeting would be the 5th of December. Is that
Okay,
resolution?
Let's set it 5th of December then.
Okay. So if we want to go ahead and take that resolution, and if you want to address them one by one, we can start with that here first. Anybody want to make a motion to approve that resolution for the final budget levy meeting to be on
Motion
the
to accept
5th of
December
December?
5th.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion to set the final budget levy meeting on December 5th from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Heeman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. So then we have our next resolution would be approving the preliminary budget for the city of Isani. And I've already voiced my opinion that we should go with scenario one, and we should hit our goal of making sure that we are lowering our tax rate by that 9% essentially, and making sure that our residents are not seeing an actual dollar increase, even though their value of their homes has gone up 8.8%.
I'm in favor of the option 2,
I second that.
so we can replace a valuable piece of snow removal equipment. If we don't do it now, it'll cost taxpayers more and the city more to put it off any longer.
Yeah, and I just think that we need to, the residents have said they do not want to pay more taxes.
And that's, option 2 is a 4.5% reduction in taxes.
Well, in the tax rate. It's not a reduction in the dollar amount that they're gonna pay.
Correct, just as option 1 is 8.9. So. Yeah. So anyway, we've discussed it a lot. I'm with option 2.
I second that.
All right, so I'll call for a vote on that. I have a motion from Councilman Collison to accept option 2, and I have a motion or a second from Councilman Lundin to go with option 2. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Aye. Motion does not pass. It's 2-2. I mean, I just think that we really need to say, okay, what are the residents willing to pay? And they are not willing to pay anymore. I think we need to say, we need to live within our means, and we have an obligation, I think, to make sure that we are not raising taxes in real dollars, not just the tax rate. You know, you have, people will say, well, we didn't raise taxes, we kept the levy rate the same. Well, that doesn't matter. If your value of your home goes up 8.8%, you're still paying that much more in taxes. So I would make a motion to go with scenario 1 and see an 8.97% reduction in the tax rate.
I'll second.
I have a motion from myself and a second from Councilman Heeman to go with scenario 1. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
And motion doesn't pass, 2-2. So I think we're gonna be looking probably at a special meeting to have Luke here, and
Mayor and council, if you could, in the event of this, if you could set a date for that special meeting by motion and by vote, and then we will set that for the date and time.
and just to clarify, I mean, this is not something that I can break a tie on.
Correct, I did
Okay.
verify
Okay.
after our conversation.
If it was, I would, so. Okay, so what, the rest of this, I guess, Mike, the rest of these resolutions we'll have to wait for final numbers on, right?
Well, so basically what will happen is then at the special meeting, basically these options would come back. And we would have to figure that out. If council comes to no conclusion, it is not settled, right? Maybe it's still split, right? Then the levy is last year's levy.
And what was last year's levy amount?
Last year's levy, I don't have the exact number, but it is less than option 1.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Because even with because your market has increased in value, even with that reduction overall, you are collecting more. So actually, we'd see more of a tax decrease even if we went with last year's levy. So
Mayor and Council, if you could have discussion, sounds like a possibility of calling for a special meeting for these items, possibly Monday, September 25th. Tuesday, the 26th, we do have a park board meeting at 6 PM that night.
Any preference from you guys, or would you want to discuss it?
I won't be available the 28th or 29th either, so whatever we got to do. I just won't be available those 2 nights.
Well, she's asking about the 25th and the 26th, but, what'd you say?
I just said I can't do the 28th or 29th. I don't care, whatever
Oh,
day we have.
the rest of it, you don't care if it's the 25th or the 26th? I mean, do we want to have any more discussion tonight on this topic, or? Are you guys pretty, I know I'm not going to change my mind on,
Nor am I.
Either date works for me.
I don't know, maybe,
How about Dan?
Tough to say. Tuesday would probably be the best chance that I can make it.
Let's go with it.
what time do you guys want to do? The park meeting is at 6.
Correct. Possibly 5, possibly 7. Well, you're on.
6 would be
I believe
great.
that if they, from what I heard this earlier today, they may not have a quorum for their special meeting on Thursday for the park tour and discussion. Therefore, that tour discussion would move to the Tuesday, the 26th meeting, and so that likely that will not end early, I would imagine. So having a meeting prior to that may be the best, either a 5 or a 5:30, if that works.
5:30?
And a reminder, Mr. Becker won't be
Yeah,
here, but I
need that
would
half
encourage you to
hour.
ask any questions you'd have prior to that date of that meeting of him.
5:30, you said, George? You need,
Yeah, as late as possible. I mean, I almost needed an extra half hour today. I barely made this one.
what do you think, 5:30 work for you guys, or?
Or Wednesday, I mean,
We could do Wednesday,
Do
yeah. I mean, is
Wednesday.
that enough time to?
I think 5:30 would work for me.
Yeah, same here.
Okay?
It doesn't make any difference to you whether it be Monday or Wednesday, right, or?
No.
Okay. Mike, does that make a difference to you at all if you can't make it?
I can be here Monday and that's it.
You can be here Monday, okay.
And I mean, at this point, it's not the end of the world if I'm not here for this meeting. I think
Sure.
we've kind of laid out
Yeah, right,
where we're at with this, but
okay. All right, so we'll see if we can get a motion here for the 25th at 5:30 for a special budget meeting to approve our preliminary budget.
I make a motion for the 25th, 5:30 for preliminary budget.
I'll second it.
I have a motion from Councilman Heeman and a second from Councilman Lundin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. All right. Moving on to K6, we have the ordinance to consider amending Chapter 160 fees.
thank you, Mayor and Council. So I do have an ordinance before you amending Chapter 160 fees for the building permits and inspection section is the bulk of this. There is some minor changes to Parks and Recreation with the name change. Those are no new changes to the Park and Recreation section. They were just moved over from building because they made more sense and where they were located, planning and zoning for that. So changes made to the building permits and inspections, these are as a result of going with contracted services. In discussions with Rum River Consultants, they are fine going with their percentage of our permit fees for, I would say, over 90% of them, and we will evaluate the rest of the fees January 1 of 2025, so then our builders can feel like they know what to expect. The minor changes here are with our basement refinish and remodel, the $300, which that was revised not that long ago to include all together as a package. They are fine with having that be stated that way, but they need the inspections to be combined. So we gave two options within our fee schedule, the $300 for that with combined inspections, or potentially more if they had them, if they were taking a long time to complete their project and had inspections throughout the project. Let's see, deck permits, we did have a flat rate on that, but because there's so much variation, they found that there would be some that would be more, some that would be less. So that is changed to be a fee valuation table that we had within the fee schedule. Inspections outside of normal business hours, that was $75 for a 2-hour minimum plus mileage. That was changed to the $125 per hour to match their contract. License verification fee of $5, we removed it. They do not charge that. They feel that that's kind of splitting hairs, so they asked that that be removed. Mechanical permit was $75 per unit. That has been raised to $100, so slight increase there. Plumbing, because they are doing plumbing plan reviews, that's been included into the fee schedule now. They are also doing our rental inspections, so we matched our fee schedule to what they were charging us with a slight increase to make sure all of our fees are covered as well. And then plumbing permit basic, ours was listed at up to 4 fixtures for $54. Now that'll be $100 with construction of a new construction and a basement refinish, $75 for repair. And that is the changes. This has been posted for the required 10 days.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion to approve from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Heeman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. We have K7, consider memorandum of understanding between the City of Isanti and Isanti County for Emergency Operations Center.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So this was discussed a few months back about the fact that we didn't have an EOC and what are we going to do? And Chief Myers and Lieutenant are working to have something on our end, but it really, we felt that not having the agreement that we had always had for years past with the county and the ability to use their EOC when it went over to their sheriff's department was really a concern of ours, that we didn't have something to go to. And we were working with the city of Cambridge, and they were being very gracious to help with, put us in their library if need be. And we just want to make sure that we are prepared if something were to happen. I'm happy to share that with collaboration between the chief, myself, and Lieutenant, and as well as Sheriff Cyberlick and his team, that they felt that it was also equally important that we have a shared space if need be. And they open their doors to us. If we need to have a space, they're willing to allow us into their new sheriff department and use the EOC there if need be. This is a memorandum of understanding to put in writing just that. So it's an ongoing, those who will need to use it potentially that aren't law enforcement, such as myself, will get credentialed to be able to be in there if need be in a case of emergency. And this already did pass the county board on September 5th. So once we sign this, then we have this great agreement, and we're very appreciative and are happy for the collaboration.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that was something that we had brought up and you know, we had really nothing, no plan, I guess, of action of what we were gonna do. And I know we discussed, you know, a mobile unit or something like that, but I think this works out just as well and cost-wise makes a lot of sense. So thank you to all the parties involved for putting that together and making it happen. So it's definitely something that needed to be crossed off the list, so.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion to approve from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Collison. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. On the consent agenda, I just wanted to mention a quick thank you to the Memorial Health Foundation for the grant that they gave us for fitness equipment, outdoor fitness equipment in Bluebird Park. That's very generous of them. Any other questions at all on the consent agenda? Otherwise, I'll take a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Collison. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0.
If, yeah, just a side note,
Yeah.
L3, Melanie Castellano, she's not leaving because of anything at the liquor store. She's actually moving out of town.
Okay,
So it's a good sight to see that she's not leaving for any other reason than that.
sure.
I mean, that's been kind of our big turnover is that liquor store. So, all right,
Okay.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion to adjourn from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Collison. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. We are adjourned.